Hi guys, it's Mandy from MandyleePlays, and in this special video I want to talk about a little rumor that has been floating around, and well, it's more like a leak, but it's got me really hyped because it's talking about my favorite game of all time, and that is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now y'all know The Legend of Zelda is my favorite series. Well, this one is my favorite game in the series, so it is one of my favorite games of all time. And so yeah, I got excited, a little too excited, but you know, do you blame me? So yeah, about the leak, let me get my book out. But before we start this video, I want to do a disclosure. This is not a confident, concrete remake or remaster. Nintendo has said nothing about it, and it could very well just be a fluke. So it is not real. It's just speculation and guessing and hopeful thinking. So do not take this as fact, because it isn't. Take it with a grain of salt. With all that out of the way, let's get to the leak. All right, so our friend, I'm sorry, that's the garage. Alright, so Amazon of the UK had a very suspicious listing, and that was Skyward Sword for the Switch. Now, this was like on for, I guess, a day, and then it, they took it off for obvious reasons. But a lot of people were like, what the heck is this? And you know how Nintendo fans are. Their gears start turning and they're like, oh my god, what is this? Or what if it's this? And keep in mind, we were all just theorizing over a Mario picture not too long ago. So stuff like this is not taken lightly. And I am so hyped if it's a thing. But I did write down why I think this is gonna be a thing and why I think that it might not be a thing. Just to, say that it's not that easy to just port over a game. There is stuff that has to be done, has to be said, has to be configured. So I'm just gonna go over those. Number one, Nintendo loves anniversaries. I don't know why, but for anniversaries, especially the 35s, something with a 5, they like to go all out with the game. A good example is Mario. Now, we don't know if the Mario collection is a thing that is still in the woodworks of is it or is it not. But also in the past, Nintendo has loved anniversaries and making them special. And fun fact, Zelda Skyward Sword was a game to celebrate Zelda's anniversary also. So it's an anniversary game. So that's why a lot of people are hoping for the 35th anniversary, because the game itself was a celebration of its anniversary. So I see it really fitting that they would do that. Alright, and this point might be a little under speculation because it's just my kind of observation. And that is, the story of Skyward Sword is the origin story of Link, Zelda, and Ganon and their whole dynamic. So the whole origin story thing would be perfect for the Switch because a lot of people haven't played Skyward Sword and it just fits well with the whole anniversary theme. Alright, so my next point is that this is not the first time this has happened with Skyward Sword. I think back in 2018 there was a Symphony of the Goddesses or something Zelda-wise in Osaka, Japan. And a lot of people were speculating that they were going to do a Skyward Sword port for the Switch, but then IG Anuma slashed that right in half, like the next day. I actually did a video on it, and the very next day my video was rendered irrelevant because he just said, no, it's not happening. A lot of people are like, well, it's not gonna happen, fam. You heard it from the man himself. But why I put this in the category of why there's still hope is because he shot it down the next day. Nintendo has not said anything about it, nor the Mario collection. So that gives me hope that they're not saying anything because they don't want to say, oh, it's not happening and then it happens, or oh, it's happening and then it not happens. They're probably waiting to reveal it or to tell us themselves. They haven't slashed the rumors or anything like that. So that means that there is hope for a Skyward Sword port to the Switch. Now, it could just be my fangirling, which I guess, yeah, but there's hope. Alright, so to keep it fair, I'm gonna list some stuff that might hinder or might go into the category of it's just a rumor, just a leak, it's not true. And that is, number one, the motion controls. A lot of people did not like the motion controls in Skyward Sword. I really liked it. It had charm, but there were times where I'm like, this is pointless, like what am I doing? So I did love the motion controls though. The Wii motion controls were really something. That's why if you want to play Skyward Sword without going insane, you're gonna have to grab a Wiimote with Wii Motion Plus, which they made specifically for that game, because might I add you, it was a trip sometimes with the motion controls. And the game itself is built around motion controls. It's not just like, oh, you just do it sometimes and you can press a button. No. Everything is dependent on motion controls down to boss battles. Though the Switch does have the Joy-Cons, which have better motion controls than the Wii U, like Wiimote. So I feel like they could do something with that, but that also limits more accessibility to more people because not everybody could do motion controls. And honestly, streaming that would be a nightmare. Just waving my Switch Joy-Con around, it might fly into my monitor at that point. So it could get kind of convoluted, and I see that. And like I said, not everybody is able to do motion controls due to disabilities or stuff like that. And we want to make the games more inclusive. So I think that is a big thing that's hindering a just port or anything. That's why they have to remaster it or remake it, because they have to change the fundamentals of the game. When I say the game is dependent on motion controls, I say it's dependent on motion controls. The whole game was built around that concept. To have to kind of revise and remake it all to make it more inclusive, or a lot of people just didn't like motion controls, it's gonna take a lot. So there's that. The motion controls are honestly one of the biggest setbacks to the game. If it wasn't for the motion controls, it could be like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. It could be an HD port. And a lot of people say, oh, it's just motion controls, all they have to do is configure buttons. And I'm like, no, the game is built on motion controls. The enemies, AI, they move thinking you have motion controls. So it's very hard to make a game that's dependent on motion controls to not. It's kind of like going from a VR kind of game to just a regular button game. It's not gonna feel the same, and if your game is based on that core mechanic, it's not even going to have the same experience, kind of. So I'm very curious if they're gonna do a port or anything like that. How are they going to make the motion controls better, or give us an option to turn it off or turn it on? Or a bigger problem, what about the people with Switch lights? They can't have motion controls. I mean, they could get around it by putting the Switch lights on the table, getting Joy-Cons, but that defeats the whole purpose of the Switch Lite, in my opinion. So how are they going to make that, you know, playable with the Switch Lite people? Because I know a lot of people who just have Switch Lites. So what's gonna happen to that? So things like that make me think that it's not just a, you know, clear-cut answer, or it's just not like a, oh, just port the thing kind of thing, because the whole infrastructure of the game is dependent on a dated kind of motion control. I personally don't mind motion controls, but I know I am a minority in that. A lot of people do not like motion controls. Even if the Joy-Cons have better motion and stuff, it's more responsive, people are still not gonna really like it as much. So yeah, and I kind of want people to like it. If you know Skyward Sword, you know that a lot of people did not like it upon its release because of the motion controls. And back then, they had, you know, all the right not to like it because the motion controls were bad. And it's really kind of like the black sheep of the Zelda games. So I want more people to experience the game again, or maybe experience it for the first time. I've seen that a lot. Not a lot of people have played it. So I, you know, can only hope as a fangirl that they do that. Now, since my favorite Zelda game is Skyward Sword, I got into a lot of debates about, is it good, is it worth the hype, why do I like it so much, it's too linear, motion control, blah blah blah. And I'm like, the game is beautiful, it is awesome, it's the origin story, and I just feel like a lot of people would give it a second try and a second go if they played it on the Switch, depending on how they do it. And it could very well be one of the best Zelda games to some people. So, I can only hope. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave me a like. And if you like my channel and would love to see more, please hit that subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. We are getting hyped to 3K, so let's do it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Sorry about my dog. Are you hyped about this? Do you think it's gonna be a thing, or do you think it's another gotcha moment? You know, tell me your opinions and thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. You can follow me on Twitter at MandyleePlays. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and as always, play a good game. Bye!